Good morning, Villa fans. Welcome to a debrief of what was last night's rubbish performance. Time to get yourself a big cup of coffee, biscuits of choice. Let's get into this. What was absolutely rubbish performance yesterday from Aston Villa. Game week 3 of the Europa League. Going into the game against Go Ahead Eagles. Big favourites Villa were, I think, to win the game. Obviously rotated the team as I thought we would. But what was that? We've just won 5 on the bounce. Confidence was high, very high. That performance against Tottenham, the goal for Buendia was being talked about. That's been forgotten now already. It's football is a very fast sort of turnover sort of sport, really, where it's all about your last result. And we're going into a game against Man City on the back of this performance result, which is not a good look. Wanted to talk about it. Did I really? Not really, but I want to keep the consistency up. But let's talk about the game. Let's wind it back. As I said, and as everyone kind of said, it was a really good opportunity. It looked like at the beginning to sort of give some players some rest who'd been playing a lot of football. There was a few surprises in the lineup. So obviously Emery Martinez in goal. Marco Bizzo on the bench, which was a bit of a surprise because I thought Bizzo would have been given the nod in this Europa League campaign, at least in this league phase perhaps, but it was Emery Martinez. Right back, we saw Victor Lindelof come in at right back. Obviously, I knew Matty Cash needed a bit of a rest, but I thought Bogard might come in there. Lindelof doesn't really offer anything at right back apart from sort of being an actual defender. I don't think he actually came forward at all. Left back Ian Martson. Now, I can go into each individual player, and Ian Martson is a player that has been, looking for minutes, wanting more game time. But off the back of the performances that we've seen from him, especially this one yesterday, he can sit himself on the bench and be thankful. Luca Digne is levels above him from a defensive point of view. You can see from the second goal, he's not aware, he's not alert. He's very much just a backup player, which is, horrible to say for someone who cost 37 million. But there you go. He's not in the same league as Luca Digne, and that's probably why we've extended Digne's contract. Centre-back pairing was 2 left footers of Pau Torres and Tyrone Mings. It started off fine, looked okay, but it just shows that without Ezri Konsa at the back there, we really don't have much sort of recovery pace or organisation going on. I thought Tyrone Mings was supposed to be that leader, but there wasn't much conversation between him and Powell that was going on. And Ezri Konsa has really, really come on a lot in that respect. And, I remember when him and Konsa and Mings were the defensive duo, and it was always Mings who was seen as the leader, as the outstanding one, and Konsa was almost like the backup, I suppose, to Mings. Now it's flipped totally the other way, and Konsa is the main man, and absolutely rightly so. And we missed his presence on the pitch, calmness on the pitch, leadership qualities, and all that sort of stuff too. The DMs is what I kind of thought it could be with Bogard playing in there with Onana. Bogard could have played sort of right back as well, but he came in. He's done well in the games that he's played. Didn't do too much wrong in this game, to be fair. Onana, I'm expecting a lot more from a £50 million midfield player, Belgian international, especially against the likes of Go Ahead Eagles, no disrespect. But for him to be dominating the game, I just don't see it. I don't see it. And I'll talk about in a moment about the squad and how I feel like the squad quality has gone backwards over the last couple of years, is what I would say. And I'll talk about that in a bit more detail shortly. But Onana and Bogard as the CDM kind of partnership, disappointed with Onana, really was expecting him to really boss this game. Didn't see it at all. And ahead of that, we saw Jadon Sancho getting the start from the left. We saw Emi Buendia playing in the 10, Guessand on the right, and Watkins up top. I mean, Sancho started the game sharply. You must say, he definitely did well in the first sort of 20, 25 minutes, looking quite dangerous, but he faded so badly in that second half, especially to the point where I forgot he was on the pitch. He was absolutely started really, really quite well, had a shot off as well, but then faded massively. Buendia, he just couldn't get into the game. I'm not sure what it was. He couldn't affect anything. It wasn't the same Emi Buendia from when we see him coming off the bench, perhaps. But yeah, he looked a shadow of his Tottenham self, and the performances that he's put in recently. And then Evan Guessand, who I talked about in my match reaction last night, the instant match reaction. I know that he got the goal. I mean, let's talk about that. Sancho's put a cross in. The keeper's not kind of dealt with it. Defenders got in his way. It's fallen to Evan Guessand, and I don't even think Guessand was shooting there. I think he's gone to either try to tackle or shinned it in. I don't know, but that was no way a shot from Evan Guessand, and it just sort of rolls into the net after about 3 minutes. And after that, he has a one-on-one chance as well to make it 2-0, and he has to be scoring that. He absolutely has to be scoring that. So, and then again, another player who faded so badly in that game, and he played 90 minutes, which I couldn't believe. So, yeah, that was disappointing. Obviously, going back to Emi Buendia, obviously missing the penalty as well. I mean, how is it we have a squad of 25 players, and I think this has been talked about, and we don't have a competent penalty taker in our team? That is rubbish. The last consistent penalty takers that we've had, Anwar El Ghazi, felt confident that he would score. Dougie Luiz, obviously missed one against Olympiacos, but before that, really consistent. And then, I don't know, before that, what are we looking at? Jonathan Kodja, maybe? Christian Benteke, Ashley Young from his first spell. These are the only sort of consistent penalty takers that I can think of over the last sort of few years that Villa have had. And there was a stat that flew around that we've missed, I think it's 7 of the last 13 penalties that we've had. So more than 50% of the penalties that we've had recently, it's a terrible stat. We don't have anyone on that pitch that looks like they're comfortable taking penalties. John McGinn mentioned something in the Bologna game, I think when Watkins missed his penalty, that Daniel Marlon is the designated penalty taker. He was on the pitch. So why didn't he take it? He's a designated penalty taker. It's like, I don't know what goes on in training, but if I was in Emery, I would do 6 hours, just do a training session on just penalties. Maybe start with an open goal and just get them used to converting penalties and finding the sort of corners and things like that. I know that we've got Emi Martinez in goal, and he's probably one of the world's best goalkeepers at saving penalties, and maybe no one in training can score past him. And maybe that's what's deflating people, I don't know. But maybe stick Marco Bizzo in goal, because, he didn't get close to any of the ones at Brentford, and sort of stick a few past him. Turn it into a training session, turn it into a game. You've got to score 5 in a row, whatever. But there needs to be, penalty taking needs to be looked at seriously, because every time we get a penalty now, I almost like, well, there's no point. We're not going to score. The penalty should be, 70, 80% that you are going to score the goal. You've got a free shot on goal from 12 yards out against a goalkeeper. Your striker should be the one stepping up to take those, because he's the one who's normally in those sorts of positions anyway. But Ollie Watkins wasn't on the pitch for this one. But even when he is on the pitch, I don't fancy him to score penalties. So something needs to be looked at there, whether it's recruitment and we look to buy in someone that can take penalties and play a little bit as well. But we have no one. We have absolutely no one in that squad. We saw against Brentford that, McGinn missed, Cash missed. Morgan Rogers didn't even take one then. He's taken a few for the under-21s apparently and scored. Why can't he sort of step up? But if Daniel Marlon is on the pitch and he's your designated penalty taker, then surely he should be the one. Buendia, I mean, obviously there was a delay in the penalty itself, and the close-ups of him, he looked petrified. I mean, I know he's the one who's probably got the confidence in terms of the performances recently in the goals. And, maybe on paper he was probably the most likely one, except Daniel Marlon perhaps. But he looked petrified, and not being bad, the conditions of the game as well, very windy, rainy. Why are you trying to aim high? The wind could take it a little bit further than you're planning, and that's exactly what happened. Surely those penalties have to go low, hard and low into the corners. It's easier saying it in hindsight, but yeah, I just never was confident, and I never feel confident with Villa getting penalties now. It's almost like it's like 20% chance that we'll score, when it should be 70 or 80% chance that we should be scoring penalties. That's a free shot on goal from 12 yards out. You should be hitting the back of the net, 80% of the time, at least. But when we get it, you can just forget it. It's like you might as well just carry on playing or something. Do you know what I mean? Don't even appeal for penalties anymore because it's just we don't have anyone that can take them. Watkins missed a chance as well. Obviously, the goalkeeper in the first sort of 10, 15 minutes was having a mare. We were 1-0 up at this point. He passes the ball out to Guessand. Guessand picks out Watkins. Watkins takes a touch. He's got to be scoring that. Whether he hits it first time or he just finds a corner. Did take a slight deflection off the defender, which took it into the keeper. So whether it was going to be going in without the deflection off the defender, I'm not too sure. But whatever. You're literally by the penalty spot, free shot on goal. You've got to be finishing that, Ollie Watkins. I said in my instant match reaction or on one of the other podcasts I listened to last night that, he's just not clinical. If you compare John Duran, I know I don't want to be comparing players who have left the club, but John Duran was so much more clinical. You give John Duran the chances that Ollie Watkins gets, and John Duran is scoring much more of those chances. And, he's that maverick nature. I mean, John Duran would score goals that Ollie Watkins wouldn't even think about. The Bayern Munich one, the Leipzig one, just off the cuff, the goal against Everton that he scored last season. These are goals that Watkins wouldn't even think about. It's just, it wasn't great. And then the subs that came on, I mean, Marlon comes on, plays up front. He's not a striker. In no way in any world is Daniel Marlon a number 9 striker. He's a support striker, plays in the front two, like he did against Burnley. And what we saw against Burnley as well is that they played 3 at the back. And we played Watkins and Marlon, and that troubled them. This team here, Go Ahead Eagles, went to a back 3 after their injuries in the first half, and we just kept Watkins up front. So Watkins was kind of being marked by 3 players. And, he had a very, very quiet game after that missed chance. Didn't really do anything at all, I can't recall. When you're playing a back 3, you have to play 2 up front. You've got to give the defenders something to think about. Otherwise, they're all just marking 1 striker. So Daniel Marlon, for me, should have been on the pitch a lot earlier as a support striker to Ollie Watkins, not replacing Ollie Watkins. And then we saw, Guessand got 90 minutes. I think Emery is just persevering with Guessand because he's a permanent signing. That's all I can see. He's trying to play him into form, give him an opportunity because he's here for the long term. Emery doesn't want to be shown up in terms of I sort of sanction this purchase. Obviously, Monchi was probably the one who scouted him and gave all the details. But at the end of the day, Emery signs off on every single deal. So it's almost like a bit of pride there. You want to keep him on the pitch to see what he can do. But he's awful. I said in my instant match reaction, I don't like to be reactionary. I'm yet to see anything in Evan Guessand that tells me he's a Premier League player. They tell me he's an Aston Villa player. He's not. He works hard, fair enough, works up and down the flank. Good for him. But I can find you someone in League One or League Two that could do the same. There's no quality. There's no skill. There's no composure. He doesn't really want to take on a person. Sometimes he lines them up and doesn't do anything. Where's the Guessand that we saw from the Nice highlights when he was just running through people? I haven't seen any of that from this guy. And I'll be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if he left or we got rid of him in the summer. I think his level is probably playing in the French league. I don't think he's a Premier League player at all. He doesn't seem to have anything about him that shows me that he's got levels of a Premier League player. Bertrand Traore, probably a better player than him. Leon Bailey, who he replaced, is a better player than Evan. If you gave me the option of Evan Guessand or Leon Bailey right now, it would be Leon Bailey. But from Guessand, I haven't seen anything for him. It's early days, but he's getting minutes played into him. And, the polar opposite of that is Harvey Elliott, who's getting no minutes at all. There's conspiracy theories about what's going on here. And I think I know what it is. It's obviously there's a clause about 10 appearances being made. And then all of a sudden it triggers a permanent £35 million buy for Aston Villa for him. So I think what Emery has seen of him, he thinks maybe Buendia's re-emergence has called into question, do we need Harvey Elliott? They're similar kind of players, similar physiques. We've got Emery Buendia who are ready. Do we need to spend 35 million on Harvey Elliott, who at the moment is not getting into the team? And And I think that's why he's not being played. So there probably will be a termination of the loan in January, and I think he'll go back to Liverpool because he can't be happy. Again, not getting on the pitch at all. Jadon Sancho, as I said, he played well to begin with, first 10 to 15 minutes. I thought Villa were doing well in that sort of first 20 minutes of the game. You know what I mean? I was watching it thinking, 1-0 up, had 3 or 4 chances. I started cooking. I thought, this is easy. Let me make some food. So I started cooking, watching the game, relaxing. And, I always had this thought. And I said to my mate, if we don't get a second, they're going to get more encouraged. If it stays at 1-0, they will grow in confidence that it's only 1-0. And all it takes is one little set piece. And hi-ho, 42 minutes in, they get a free kick, quickly taken. Apparently, Onana or Guessand were blocked off. But their player is left in the box literally on his own, able to bring it down, gets his shot off, deflects off the back of Pau Torres and loops in over Emi Martinez. But it's the defending. I mean, the organisation from it. How do you let a player run free? And he still has to take a touch in the box to bring it down. And he had time to do that still. It was a shambles, an absolute shambles. And that crowd, 10,000 of them, wow. That was an amazing, amazing crowd. They were non-stop. It was loud. The 10,000, that was loud. It was one of the loudest fan bases supporters I've heard. And I was only obviously watching it on the telly, but I wonder what it was like to be there. Hopefully Max Stokes can let us all know and do his video. Just watching it, and then second half, we come out and it's like lackadaisical. There's no oomph. It's almost like, we'll win this game eventually. And we don't. And all of a sudden they get a break going forward in the second half. I don't know, who was it there? Left centre back plays a ball over the top. Just a simple ball over the top. And their right back is just waltzed in. Ian Martin is sleeping. I think he's asking Pau Torres to pick him up when it should be Ian Martin's man. And he's able to put the ball past Emi Martinez. And at that point, after that, I knew that we weren't going to, even though we were still pushing, I knew that they were going to play that low block. They were going to go back to back 5, 4 across midfield, and nobody up front, or just one up front, just to hammer it out. And when we play against teams like that, we can't handle it. We cannot break down any low blocks. We do not have the players to do it. We are better when we have space and time, when we play on the counter-attack. So when the other team is attacking, we win it quickly and spring the attack. That's the way that Villa operate and play at their best. But this second half performance, it was stinky, is what I would say. So I don't remember Watkins doing much. We flashed a few crosses across the box. Matty Cash came on, bit of urgency with him. Morgan Rogers showing a bit of urgency, putting one just past the post. But we didn't look like scoring. It would have been better to keep maybe Watkins on and pair him with Marlon, go 2 up front. Guessand getting 90 minutes is unbelievable. Buendia getting 90 minutes is unbelievable. Need to sort out the penalty situation. But the squad depth, as I talked about earlier, for example, we've sold Douglas Luiz and bought in Onana. I can comfortably say that Douglas Luiz is a much better player than Onana. Comfortably. We bought in Ian Martin at left back. We got rid of Alex Moreno. I'm saying prime Alex Moreno was better than Ian Martin. That's what I've seen. Prime in Alex Moreno. Even Diego Carlos as a backup centre-back is a better option than Victor Lindelof. And I heard somewhere on Capology, I think I saw, Victor Lindelof is on 120 grand a week. Fuck me. Do you know what I mean? That's a fourth choice centre-back on 120 grand a week. I hope that's wrong. Somebody put that, correct me if that is wrong, but I saw that on Capology and I was like, no way. But 120 grand, Victor Lindelof. There you go. One who sanctioned that signing. Want you probably. But John Duran, I said, over Ollie Watkins. John Duran is much more clinical than Ollie Watkins. Watkins gives you more in terms of movement, running off the ball, perhaps, work rate. But when it comes to goal scoring and you want someone to put the ball in the back of the net, John Duran, I think, in this Villa team would score more than Ollie Watkins. I think. And then, obviously, I'm not going to compare the loan players that we had last season. So we had Rashford and Asensio. And this season we've got Sancho and this guy Elliott who never plays. So you can't compare those two at all. But the squad depth has gone down. You have to say we're not as strong as we were. You could say the upgrades have been, Morgan Rogers is perhaps an upgrade on Moussa Diaby. Yes, Yuri Tielemans was a free signing, so you can't really compare him too much. But it was, if it's him and Louise, I think it's still quite tight with them two, because I really like Dougie Louise. I thought he was very good for us. But it's the squad is, I don't want to be sort of doom and gloomy. We have won 5 in a row and just lost this one. And we've got Man City coming up on Sunday, which is going to be a big game. And I think we'll see a much better performance from us. And I wouldn't surprise me if we got a point or even a win somehow. But Man City are on good form. Haaland's coming into it. I heard 12 goals in his last 12 games or something. So he's bang on form. Everyone's saying, we should play Tyrone Mings up against him for the physical battle. Powell will get out-muscled. I don't know. Mings didn't look too great yesterday, if I'm honest, against the go-ahead Eagles striker. How is he going to handle Haaland? I'm not sure that he's back to full fitness anyway. So I think Pau Torres will get the nod. I'm hoping Luca Digne is going to recover from his ankle knock, because we need him at left back, not Ian Martson. Kamara needs to come back in at CDM. Wouldn't surprise me if we went with like 3 across midfield in terms of Kamara, Bogard, and Onana, and then put Rogers and McGinn behind Watkins, perhaps up front, because we don't have any other striker. I can't see him going with Daniel Marlon for this. Evan Guessand for me doesn't do anything. He just looks lost. He just fizzles out of the game, and you have to question the signings of these players. Guessand 30 million, Sancho on about 200 grand a week apparently. Harvey Elliott not getting any minutes at all. What was the point of that? Could we have used the Sancho and Elliott combined weekly wage to bring Jack Grealish back to Villa, and he would have given us so much more? But it's all in hindsight. It's all ifs and buts. But I just feel like, it was just rubbish last night in terms of performance. And these players have been crying out for chances, the likes of Martson, as I mentioned. And they don't take it. They just don't take it. Onana just looked, pedestrian, didn't look like any sort of £50 million player against go-ahead Eagles. And, you got to give them credit that they dug in, they had a game plan. And how we haven't sorted out this penalty taker situation is unforgivable. There needs to be practice. You need to practice penalties. Just need to. You are going to get penalties in the season. And at the moment, nobody in that whole entire squad of 25, I would back to score a penalty. I don't think I would back any one of them to score a penalty. That's just wrong. So, but anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I've got nothing more to say on the matter. Man City on Sunday. Just done a little preview for you there. We don't need to talk too much about Man City. Everyone knows about them and stuff. It's going to be a grueling game. But I think it's a game that we can get something out of. I think we'll probably want to stay in the game for as long as possible. Look to hit on the counter, perhaps, even at home. But I don't want to see the likes of Evan Guessand playing. Sancho, I don't think will play. Harvey Elliott, who knows what Unai Emery's thinking. He might even chuck Harvey Elliott in from the start and surprise us all. But can't see it happening personally. I don't want to see any sort of 3 at the back or change of formation or anything like that. So I think, but guys, I'll leave it there. My coffee's gone cold. Have a good day. Keep your chin up the Villa. Let's bounce back on Sunday. But that was a stinky, horrible performance last night. And I never want to see Villa play like that again. But we've done it. We've thrown in those performances, haven't we? Stevenage comes to mind. Crystal Palace in the semi-final. Even that game against Sheffield United around Christmas time, where we could have went top of the league if we won, and we fucked that up. So, not great look. But anyway, guys, I'll leave it there. Drop a like. Please do like and subscribe. Let's hit a like target for this video of 25. Subscribe if you're new around here. I'm normally a bit more cheerier than this, but the doom and gloom and the cold coffee is not helping. All right, take care. Bye-bye.